So recently I unintentionally watched 3 Winona Ryder movies within a week, and it got me thinking, what the heck happened to her? She used to be one of the top actresses in Hollywood in both box office returns and critical acclaim, but now the only thing she seems to be known for is Stranger Things. She's starred in a couple of Tim Burton's top movies, has 2 Oscar nominations to her name, was engaged to Johnny Depp, and dated Matt Damon all in the late 80s and 90s. So where did it all go wrong? Most fingers would point to her shoplifting incident in 2001, but there's more to it than that. Before we dive in, I want to ask all of you watching to subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date on more videos like this. We have big plans for this channel and would hate for you to miss out. With that out of the way, cue the intro. (1971). Winona Ryder was born as Winona Laura Horowitz. She later changed her name as it is common to do so in the industry. Fun fact, or not so fun fact, but as a child she was bullied for dressing as a boy and at one point became aquaphobic after almost drowning. We won't spend too much time on her childhood, so let's skip ahead a bit. 1986, she appeared in her first film, Lucas. At the time of filming, she was only 14. 1987, the release of her second film, Square Dance. 1988, Beetlejuice came out. Tim Burton liked Winona and Lucas and cast her in his movie. This was her first big role and critics began to take notice of her. 1989, Heathers, an indie movie, but a cult classic where she was the lead. This was also the first time she was described as being attractive in a script. 1990, that was a big year for her. She appeared in Edward Scissorhands where she played the love interest of Johnny Depp, who was also her boyfriend at the time. She also starred in 2 other movies this year and was even supposed to be in Godfather Part 3 as Merle Corleone, daughter of Al Pacino's character, but she withdrew from the part due to nervous exhaustion. That role ended up going to Sofia Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola's daughter, and, well, we all know how that went.
No, Dad.
Winona was the new it girl in Hollywood. She was exhausted, but that didn't stop her. She continued her success well into the 90s with many notable roles. We got Night on Earth, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, Martin Scorsese's Age of Innocence, which also got her a supporting actress nomination at the Oscars, and the 1994 version of Little Women, for which she got a lead actress nomination at the Oscars. She even got a Grammy nomination the year after for her narration of Anne Frank's diary. But sadly, I'd stamp 1994 as the end of her good times in Hollywood. From 1995 to 2002, Winona Ryder had a bad run of movies. During this time, most of the movies she was in were either box office flops or slammed by critics, and this was the first factor in what caused her fall from grace. During this era, Winona began appearing as the lead role in movies less often since the ones she did lead didn't do too well. In fact, during this whole period, she was only in 1 good movie compared to over 5 in just the early 90s. Just take a look at these charts. After 1994, there's a definite drop in quality that both critics and audiences began to notice. And this doesn't even show the lackluster numbers at the box office. Boys performed poorly with critics and at the box office. Looking for Richer did well with critics but grossed very little, and The Crucible had a lot of hype going for it because it had Daniel Day-Lewis and a moderately high budget of $25 million, but its box office return was only a little over $7 million. Alien Resurrection did well enough in the box office due to it being an alien movie, but it didn't go over well with critics and is known as the worst movie in the series, and the opinions on her performance were split. Then you got the following movies which received very poor reviews. Autumn in New York did alright at the box office, and Mr. Deeds did very well as Adam Sandler was the hot thing in the industry for comedies. There was actually one quite important movie I did skip over, Girl Interrupted. Winona Ryder was very interested in this project, probably due to it being about mental health struggles which she could relate to, which we'll soon see in this video. She was not only the lead, but was also an executive producer. This film was supposed to mark the return of her appearing in good lead roles, but all the hype was focused on Angelina Jolie's performance instead. Angelina Jolie even won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress because of this role. Because of this, her bad run of movies and a few other failed projects she was interested in, it began to really affect Winona mentally. She was no longer the it girl in Hollywood no matter how hard she tried, and she needed a break, so she took one. In 2001, she began her hiatus, her break from acting. She still appeared in 2 movies released in 2002, but these were filmed before she went on hiatus. Aside from minor appearances here and there, like in Friends and SNL, she stopped acting in any big roles. But that didn't stop her from appearing on camera. December 12th, 2001. Winona Ryder was arrested for stealing $5,500 worth of designer clothing and accessories from Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills. 4 felony charges were filed against her that eventually went to trial in December of 2002. But why? She claimed in a pretty recent interview that she was clinically depressed during this period. She said that she did come up against what felt like a wall in her career resulting from her bad movies and the scrapping of others with great potential. Winona dealt with depression by taking heavy painkillers from a not so legit physician who later got their medical license revoked, as apparently they were giving these kinds of drugs to all types of wealthy people. And these drugs clouded her judgment. She was convicted of grand theft, shoplifting, and vandalism, but not burglary, resulting in Winona receiving 3 years probation, 480 hours community service, $3,700 in fines, and $6,355 in restitution to the store. On top of this, she was ordered to attend psychological and drug counseling as she was accused of taking strong pain medications during this trial. In 2004, these felonies were reduced to misdemeanors due to her serving the community hours and behaving well while on probation, which ended in December of 2005. In an interview, Winona mentioned that during this break, she found many interesting paths in life that she could explore, due to finally having time. She was excited to be doing all these things she used to miss out on, but as time went by, she realized that she loved acting and wanted to get back into it. But getting back into it would prove harder than expected. The shoplifting incident made her more difficult to be insured for future film projects. Woody Allen mentioned that he wanted to have Winona and Robert Downey Jr. in his 2003 film Melinda and Melinda, but he couldn't get insurance on the 2 of them due to their past complications. And although the shoplifting incident made it very difficult to return to acting, it wasn't the only factor. During Winona's break back in 2001, she turned the big 3-0, which was unfortunate timing. But why, you may ask? Well, historically, Hollywood had a problem with middle-aged women. This is a topic that can have a whole video of its own and can also be used to answer the "what the heck happened to" question for many actresses. Basically, there are way more roles for younger actresses in Hollywood. They have been favored as love interests in movies, especially in action films targeting male audiences. Take Tom Cruise for example, and how often he's got a love interest in a film played by someone 20 years younger than him. But no one bats an eye because we're used to it. Then you even got roles that were rewritten for a younger actress like Jennifer Lawrence. In Joy, she was a middle-aged woman, even though she was supposed to be in her mid-20s at the time. And in Silver Linings Playbook, her character was 39 in the book while she was only 21. Some actresses do pull through though, taking on the limited roles remaining. Some also stay successful by being producers and creating projects for themselves. Reese Witherspoon is a good example of that. But even the successful middle-aged actresses discuss how much harder it got for them. In 2015, Anne Hathaway said, when she was in her early 20s, parts would be written for women in their 50s and she would get them. And now that she's in her early 30s, she's like, why did that 24-year-old get that part? She once was that 24-year-old. She can't be upset about it because it's the way things are. She felt that she was already getting too old for Hollywood. Emma Thompson mentioned that she spent her youth playing romantic leads, but once she turned 40, the roles became much smaller and more limited. But then another decade passed and she started getting interesting roles again. All of these actresses that were affected by ageism didn't take a break or shoplift, but they still struggled. So how was Winona Ryder supposed to return? Returning proved to be difficult and much less spectacular than what this video seemed like it was building up to. But then, you wouldn't be asking what the heck happened to her. She spent a big portion of her return acting in more independent films, many of them being with people she's worked with before. Some notable movies she was in during this period were Richard Linklater's A Scanner Darkly, Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan, where she played an aging ballet star, a very small role in 2009's Star Trek, Ron Howard's The Dilemma, which kind of flopped relative to its budget, and she reunited with Tim Burton for Frankenweenie as the voice of Elsa Van Helsing. She also appeared in all of these movies, but they were way less popular. And this takes us to 2016's Stranger Things, her biggest role since returning to acting. Here, she plays the single mother of a 12-year-old boy who vanishes. Her performance was praised as one of the best in the show, and she fit the character very well. Since then, she's been focusing primarily on that show. But in 2018, she was in Destination Wedding alongside Keanu Reeves, which was her 4th film with Keanu and their 3rd film together where they appeared as love interests. In 2020, she also appeared in the miniseries The Plot Against America. Only time will tell where her career will go from here. Will she get a sudden burst in roles as she gets older just like Emma Thompson, or will she settle on continuing her current level of acting? We'll just have to wait and see. Thanks for watching. I've learned so much about Winona Ryder while making this video, when just months ago I thought of her as being the mom from Stranger Things. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed to Filmstack, and I know most of you watching haven't, make sure to subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. Until next time, have a good one.